We're back with another amazing interview with another broker. This time it's Barry Aldridge, Realty One Group Select in North Carolina. We're very excited to have a great conversation and get some insights from Barry today.
So grab that cup of coffee and join us for the Wandering But Not Lost podcast.
You've reached the WBNL Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meet. And now your hosts, Jan O'Brien and Matt Emerson.
Well, welcome everyone to the WBNL Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meet. This is episode 247. You can find all of those show notes over at WBNLcoaching.com or WBNLpodcast.com. Jan O'Brien, last week we did part 5, really part 6, of our Opening Your Own Brokerage series, where we covered the whole retention part of the business. So we've covered it from pros and cons. Do you want to do that? Do you want to get into that? All the way through to retaining your agents. Next week, we're going to talk about exit strategy, which, it's kind of an important part of the process, right? So
Exactly.
I think that Barry is going to have some wisdom on the whole franchise part of, getting into and opening and running your own business. So we'll talk to Barry about that. As a matter of fact, let's just bring Barry on in. There he is. Welcome
to the podcast.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
How are y'all?
I think this is our first interview of anybody that's in the North Carolina area, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, henceforth the what's up, y'all.
Yeah.
That's right. What's up, y'all? So how is that? Before we jump into get everybody tell you a little bit about who you are, how is the market in your area? Are you struggling with low inventory and high interest rates and all the same drama we're having everywhere?
Same as everybody. The biggest thing we're seeing right now is if you have to sell or you need to buy, those are the only people that are moving right now. Everybody else is sitting back waiting for something to happen, right? And we tell our agents that, right? That's kind of, you understand the market. You're not going to sell to somebody who it doesn't make sense to sell. If they have to sell, those are the people you need to find. But as a general rule, kind of the hesitation that was happening last half of the year and the first half of this year, people that were holding off, hoping for something to change, they're having to make that move now. So we started to see the uptick, right? So, we see that the interest rates are they're kind of not going away. And they've
not
just had to face that. Yeah, they're not anytime soon. I'd hoped we would see a lower interest rate, but this time I think we're still going to see a lower interest rate. Things are going to take a little bit longer than what I thought. But they can't wait any longer. So we've seen our numbers uptick. We went from what I would call a kind of a low for a 3-year period last fall, and we're back to the pre-wide open stage. So we're back at a pretty steady clip, but it doesn't mean it's not hard, but it is a little better than it was.
That's an excellent summary.
Good.
It's sellers that need to sell and buyers that need to buy. The challenge is helping your agents pivot and find those people, right? And focus on that, which is what you always have to do in a changing market. But I think you're spot on with enough time has gone by that those buyers that were waiting for the market to crash or wait for the interest rates, everybody starts to get used to, it's in the 6s. Now, unfortunately, today I just looked 7.22, no points.
Yeah, it went up a little bit, right?
Exactly. So people like you're saying are saying, well, I need to go do it. I do believe eventually rates will come down and I can refi, right? So we're all struggling with that, I think, at the moment. So thanks for that awesome summary. I always like to know what's happening in other markets, because sometimes people are still doing well or prices are different, or like Florida's having a lot of people move there and prices are continuing to go up. We have a mixed market here in Vegas, for example. But let's tell everybody, let's get you to tell everybody a little bit about your story, Barry. Tell us about who you are and how did you get to be owner broker at Realty One Group Select.
Sure. I don't really know how that happened, but no, I'm just kidding. I've been in business, in the real estate business, 20 years. I had a couple other businesses in the past. As people may know, my mother was, she's still a licensed realtor, but basically retired. Real estate was her entire life, from the time that she was very young. That's kind of all I knew. But I, went a different direction for a long time. Got into the business in 2003 and just realized that it was something I probably should have done a lot sooner because it suited me and suited my talents and suited what I like to do, which is work with people. I went into a couple of different brokerages pretty quickly because of my background and knowing enough about real estate and just really soaking stuff up. I was asked to be a broker in charge pretty early on, about 2 or 3 years in, for a Remax franchise, a new one here in up in the mountains of North Carolina. And I was there for a while. Then I kind of went to some boutiques and, I went to some of the other large names and just kind of trying to find my way as a realtor, just what was the best route for me. Experienced some success and some failure along the way. I had an opportunity back in 2017, heard about this new company that was based out of Las Vegas and California that was looking to expand nationwide. They had some franchising opportunities. And I knew, the franchise director and just kind of had some conversations with him. And it led me to go out to Vegas and visit some of the Realty One Group offices out there. I was very impressed with their culture. They call it culture, which is a mixture of cool and culture. And it kind of fit. I'm not a suit and tie kind of guy. I mean, I really do believe that you have to be comfortable in your own, what it is that you do best. And not that I don't or can't wear a suit, but it's, you just have to be
authentic,
comfortable and have fun. Yeah, authentic, right? And then tell my agents that, don't try to be something you're not. The most important thing you do is find what works for you and double down on it. And so for me, I love the culture of Realty One Group, and I thought this would be a really great thing if I could bring it to North Carolina. So I signed and became the first franchise owner in the state of North Carolina back in 2017. We opened officially January 1st, 2018, and we're 5.5 years in now, and it's been an interesting ride so far.
Did you start did you have a handful of agents? You were over at or did you go zero to where you are today? And what is that?
No,
how many folks
no,
today?
for me, it was a huge, huge leap of faith to go. Like, I had great relationships. I'd worked well with other agents in the past. And I'm, that's one of the things that I tell my agents is really, really important that you develop a good working relationship with all your agents across the table, and just try to be respected in the industry. And I think that helped me a lot when I started. But it was a big leap of faith. It was just me and my wife and as owners of the franchise with no clear cut. And, you have to sign a 5-year lease on a big old office and pay that big check for 5 years, just hoping that things will work out. And fortunately they did. I'll tell you real quickly, the first agent that came to us was because of my relationship with agents. I had posted something on Facebook that I was getting ready to open a brokerage, and I was, being a little cagey and, a little secretive about it, and said, I'm just really excited to bring this opportunity to Charlotte and surrounding area. And I hope to see many of you, and talk to you in the future. And this agent reached out and said, she reached out to one of her friends who's also an agent, and she says, hey, do you know Barry Aldridge? And she says, no, should I? And she said, well, he's getting ready to start this brokerage, and I think we should go talk to him. And she says, why? We're at 100% brokerage already. Why do we need to go talk to him? And her words were, and I almost quote this, it says, if he opens and runs this brokerage the way that he did business with me in our transactions that we've had together, he will be successful. And I think we should talk to him because I really believe in him.
Wow.
Now that was a huge, and ironically, she's still with us. She's our number one. She's our first agent. She's a dear friend of my wife's to this day. And she's a huge supporter of our company. But that really, and sometimes I tell that story when I'm doing an interview and I still get emotional about it because that meant more to me than probably any other agent that came on. Was that first one, just knowing that and that's why I tell my agents, don't go fighting with everybody. Stop fighting. You can be firm. Like we've all had battles, right? We've all had to stand up for our clients or what we needed to do, but you can do it in a diplomatic way that doesn't burn bridges. And I think that was probably a secret to kind of why we kind of took off at that point. And so we started growing and here we are.
That's awesome. And
that's a great story.
125 agents and growing.
Yep, 125 and growing. We see it's a little slower now than it was. I think agents have a lot of choices, and that's good. I think as an agent now, they have more choices than they ever did. I joke with some of my agents, go, I was a multi-million-dollar producer for 20 years, and I never got recruited the way you guys did. Like, it's insane. Nobody ever reached out to me. It's not that they didn't want me. It's just that just didn't happen back when I was getting started, right? Now they have so many choices. So I do appreciate when somebody comes to work at our firm. I appreciate the fact that they've probably done their due diligence and they actually have interviewed people and they've compared. And so that makes it even sweeter when they choose us.
Barry Matt summed up. I don't know if you're thinking the same as me. We just did a podcast about retention, and we were there was a piece that Matt did because he'd written an article about culture is you have a culture already, and it's you. And you just gave a story that summed up exactly that. Yep. That's such a powerful testimony of your first agent and number one agent, knowing that it starts with you, and what your values are. And she knew that, and that was enough to attract her to come and talk to you, which is super powerful. And we know you and know that that's the kind of, it's like a family that you have at your company, right? You treat them that way. I mean, there's headaches and whatnot, but at the bottom line, you're always looking out for them and what's best for them.
We always find that a lot of brokers don't really take the culture aspect of it really as seriously as they possibly, or they probably should. And clearly you do that. You said there's other 100% shops in your market area. What are you doing with those agents to actually show your differentiation to the other 100% shops?
I don't compete with them.
I love it. See, there you go.
I don't even try, because as a matter of fact, when I talk to you as an agent, I'm going to tell you, there's cheaper alternatives out there. We have an amazing compensation plan. It is far and above anything I ever had as an agent, right? And I would just eat it up. But there are cheaper alternatives out there, and I literally look at every single agent and says, you will find cheaper agents. You'll find cheaper firms to work for. We are not in a race to the bottom here. My goal was to have two things. I wanted to be fair to agents, and I wanted to have the best brokerage in Charlotte. Beautiful. Period. And that was it. And we hold our agents to a higher standard. We have our compliance list is pretty strict. Like, we ask for things, and they're like, why do you do that? Because we don't want there to ever be any question of our integrity and the way we handle ourselves, and with the paperwork and all of the things that we do. We're covering you, we're covering us. We're making sure that there's no E&O, there's no issues, there's no real estate commission stuff. We make sure that you guys are doing what you're supposed to do. And beyond that, we try to make you really good agents, right? Working well with others, always trying to find a solution to the problem instead of just digging your heels in, right? There's a little bit of finesse that you have to use as a realtor to even convince the other side, right? If I'm going to talk to you as an agent and I'm going to present you a counteroffer, then part of my coaching is telling you how to present that counteroffer to that agent so that they will use those talking points, hopefully, to present to their side and make them understand. And I'm not trying to do their job for them. I'm just trying to say, this is just extra that we want to make sure that everybody's doing. Just holding ourselves to a higher standard. We will not be in a race to the bottom. We are one of the best in terms of our compensation, and I'm okay with that. And if you want to save a few pennies and go somewhere else, I promise, my dad told me a long time ago, you get what you pay for. So I'll leave it at that.
Exactly it. And it's like, I always felt like, do you really want the person who's looking for the cheapest? Because then there's a question that you're not looking for all the other things and the support and the leadership and the things that you bring to the table. So that's amazing.
Exactly.
Well, plus having that conversation when you're doing the recruiting is that you're taking that right off the table in the very beginning. I mean, that's just brilliant anyway, right? So it's like, that's the elephant in the room.
Yeah, anyway. Do you fit here or not, right?
Right.
So 20 years in the business, we're going to be talking about exit strategy. Have you thought a little bit about that? You're all in. You got goals to grow the brokerage, I'm sure. Right? Where would you like to be in a perfect world?
In a perfect world, I'd love to get to a point where, our mission has been supporting and encouraging and making our brokerage great and giving the agents the tools and the support they need to succeed. For me as a business owner or as a brokerage owner, what I would like to see is, of course, my wife is the COO of our company, and she does a lot of the behind the scenes, as you would guys well know. She is invaluable to us as a brokerage and to me as a person. I would love to see us get to a point where we can, I don't want to say fire her, but give her a little more freedom to enjoy her life and her babies and our, the pups and our daughter is going to college, and our last daughter, I should say, and just, put people in place that will help us further that mission. My promise has always been to my agents that because agents ask this really good question. You talk family, you talk support, and you talk this culture, and you talk all these things. But what happens when you get to 100, when you get to 150, when you get to 200 or whatever? And a good friend of ours who's a big owner in Realty One in Sacramento, Greg McClure, you may know him.
Sure.
ROG Complete, go Sacramento. Greg gave us some great advice a long time ago. He said, never manage and never run your brokerage from where you are. Run your brokerage from where you want to go.
Good advice.
And so we've always looked to the future. So our promise has always been to the agents, as we grow, so grows our management. If I put somebody in to replace me as the broker in charge, which eventually I will, and I'll just be a managing broker or an owner, we'll always be there for the support piece, right? We'll always be there to make sure that you get paid right. We'll make sure that you get what we promised you. But anybody I put in place will have those same philosophy and will not be in that place unless they have either the brains and the heart to do the job, and so that we can step aside. Now, as far as agents go, we got lots of great things for agents. I tell these agents there's a couple of great things that you really need to understand about this business. We now have One Future through Realty One Group, which gives you 3 different alternatives to create your own retirement accounts. They're fantastic. They are insane. Awesome. I'm actually doing it myself. It's just one of the greatest things we've ever done. And it puts an investment and retirement account for them. But I'm also teaching the agents a lot about portfolios, rental portfolios, and building some some rental income, whether that be short-term or long-term rental. If they want to go into commercial, I help them do that. We're teaching them how to buy properties, and I've had many agents that I think I've got one agent that's bought 8 properties in the past 4 years, just off of the equity from each one as they move forward, and they're all paying for themselves. And they'll get down the road about 10 years, everything's going to be paid for, and that's their exit, right?
Right.
So that is a huge piece of what we want them to do. I don't want them to work forever, or at least work smarter, not harder, at some point.
And honestly, in all my experience of working with realtors, there's a lot of folks that are always behind. They're behind with the IRS. They're not thinking of the future. Very few people have that business sense. So to add that is a whole nother level. I wish I had some of that advice through my years of saving for the future.
Well, money management and
listen to it.
I'm my worst enemy when it comes to that. There are times, and I get it, right? You're struggling. And I tell agents, the e-commissions and the advance, I said, don't get on that hamster wheel if you can help it, because you'll find it very, very hard to get off. But if you do, then you need to be talking to us so that we can help you understand that you've got to find a way out of that, because it's a vicious cycle that never ends. But just being smart with your money and understanding that this is not about just creating a salary. This should create a future.
Exactly.
Right? You got to figure that out. And people are funny. Everybody's different. Personalities are usually what I find the most fascinating about this business. Is agents I have agents that are incredible salespeople, but they're horrible with managing their finances, and it's just always struggling. And then they have some that do half the business and are just smart as they can be, and they're killing it. So I think it really, I guess probably what I think I find is probably my secret sauce is I interview agents, and I just want to bring this out here. I think it's really important. I interview agents, and it takes at least an hour to 2 hours on my initial interview, whether we do it via Zoom or phone. I almost never do it in person the first time, because I don't want it to be intimidating for either one of us. I want us just to have a conversation. but I'll do a 1 to 2 hour initial interview. And it's usually always an hour and a half to 2 hours. And it's always fascinating. I dive deep. I ask them a lot of questions. I want to really know what motivates them, because when we chose the Realty One group, affiliates get to choose their fourth name, right? So in the beginning, I chose Select. And if you look at Select in the dictionary, it means chosen from among many, right? So what I do is when I interview you, it's not I'm interviewing you. I want to know if you have, not only if we have what it takes that you're attracted to, but I want to know if you have what it takes to succeed in this business. And I have been known to turn people down or not call them back, just because if I feel like you don't really understand this business and what it takes, I don't have the time nor the resources to be able to fight that battle. Mm-hmm. Do I miss it sometimes? Absolutely. But I think it's important that agents know that their brokerage needs to care about them enough to really ask those questions, right? And see if they're a good fit. Or if nothing else, I need to know what makes you tick, right, Jan? I need to know what makes you tick, right, so that I can say, okay, the cookie cutter approach doesn't work, right? I'm going to take your strengths and I'm going to figure out a path for you based on your strengths, and I'm going to help you and I'm going to encourage you to follow that path. And everybody always tells people to do things you're uncomfortable with. I don't necessarily agree. I think you find what you're good at and you double down on it, but you always want to stretch yourself and do things that make you uncomfortable a little bit, just because it makes you a better person. Yeah, not because that's going to necessarily make the money for you. But if you find something you're good at, man, why would you not double down on it?
Yeah.
That's perfect, man.
Agreed.
That is perfect. Hey, I have one final question before we jump into this Ask 5, which is this ongoing series we ask agents and brokers. And that would be, you have this experience of coming from a real estate family with your mom, being a top producer, owning. So we just have finished up a series on the pros and cons of owning your own brokerage. Can you speak to that a little bit? So if somebody came to you and said, Barry, I'm thinking about opening my brokerage, what would be the advice that you'd give them, or the things that they should consider? What advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about it? Should they do it? What should they, what's the insight from Barry on that?
First question I'd ask is why.
That's awesome.
Why do you want to do this?
That's a good way to start.
Why? And if they say, well, I want to make more money, I don't want to work as much, I don't want to do this, I'll say, well, you're wasting your time, because this is not what you want to do if you want to do that. Now, if you love helping people and you have a heart for managing and detail and coaching and motivating and babysitting and hand-holding and all of those things and all the minutia of the back end that a brokerage is built on, then go for it. But most of you aren't.
That's the informal job description you just listed.
Yeah, no kidding.
It is the informal job description. It's not that I would discourage you, but let me just tell you, as an owner, and I love what I do and I love my company, right? And I'm very proud of it. But if I were an agent in today's market, I could step aside from this right now and have a mega team. I've learned enough in the past 5 years about systems and processes and how to make money, because it's frustrating to me. I see my agents out there, they're not making money. And I'm just amazed. But I wouldn't do the brokerage. I would go under a brokerage like myself or a similar brokerage. I'd run almost like a mega team or a mini team under that, and I would let somebody else handle the minutia behind it, because there's just so much of the stuff that agents don't really understand what a brokerage does. Wow.
That's so powerful, because especially like your brokerage is perfect for the brokerage within the brokerage model, which is what I always said. Mm-hmm. Go somewhere that supports teams. Yeah. And because I think that's perfect. Why do you want to do it is indeed the most important question, because it's the idea that it's kind of like, I want freedom to not have another broker tell me what to do. But then we covered all this, right, Matt, in our series. Here's all the things you got to do. Here's the checklist of everything you have to do to even open up a brokerage, let alone run one. So that's powerful stuff. Okay, cool. Great answer.
So, and to that, let me add real quickly. I'll let you know, it's kind of interesting because and I think I told you this, we had a small brokerage actually roll under us, because the lady called me and she said, I think at that time she had 6. She said, I'm going to roll my 5 of my 6 agents under me as a team, I'd love to join you and just kind of dissolve my brokerage and just keep my firm license, and just run a mega team under you, because I have learned that that's not my best, that's not where I'm losing money by doing it. And we're seeing that more and more. The small brokerages, the teams and stuff, they don't, if you don't want to do it, don't. Just get under where somebody else is handling all that mess.
That's right.
And just go out and do what you do best and go make money. I know I
Come
would.
on, those are good targets for recruiting.
Yeah, no kidding.
We'll find those.
Absolutely.
Okay, I love it. All right, let's do this Ask 5, Matt.
Yeah, the first question, Barry, we've, like Janet's saying, we've been doing the Ask 5 since the beginning of this year, and just asking everyone the exact same 5 questions to kind of get an idea what their answers are. And it's been fun for us to listen to people's different answers that they have to the questions. We are actually going to make a compilation video of everyone answering the same questions. So we're looking forward to what your response is. Real estate's real estate, right? It's not. There's not always a trillion different ways to do the business. So some of these answers might kind of be the same. But just give us your best advice. First question is, what's your best idea for you dealing with your SOI and your past clients? So your database, really.
This is my favorite one, and here's the problem: agents come to me and they want to get started. They're like, I want to do this, want to do that, And so one of the questions I ask them, I said, "Yeah, past clients." They say, "Yeah." I say, "How well do you keep up with them?" Okay. How about your sphere of influence? How about the people you talk to on a regular basis? How do you do with that? So I look at them and I said, "Have you ever had to say I'm sorry?" And they go, "Well, yeah." I said, "Okay, this is let's call it the I'm sorry campaign." Then you take every single one of your past clients, and that's where you start. You reach out to them and you call them. And the minute they answer, you said, "Hey, Joe, it's Barry Aldridge. I'm so sorry I haven't spoken to you sooner. I should have been calling you a long time ago. But I just want to call to apologize because I really, life got in the way. And I really want to apologize for not being in touch sooner." You know what they're going to say? "Oh man, that's no problem. I get it, And then you can go on and have the conversation. How's the house? How are the kids? Is everything good? And end it with, "Hey, listen, I hope you'll keep me in mind. And again, I apologize." And there's, it's just the apology campaign, right? Just go out and talk to all those people.
That's awesome.
And it has gained more business for my agents than any other single thing that I've done. I said, at some point, stop being afraid to call them and just go ahead and then own it. And say, "I apologize for not calling you. I should have called you sooner." Brilliant. And it just takes all you'll learn this about me, as I have an outside the box way of thinking about everything. I tell the agents, just do that and just kill that problem right off the beginning, and you'll find that it wasn't nearly as bad a problem as you made it out to be, because that's the very thing that kept you from calling them, right?
Exactly. That's why they're not doing it.
Right. So
wow.
For us, we just say the I'm sorry campaign.
Okay, I'm sorry campaign. I dig that. I love it.
That's awesome.
All right. Best answer yet.
Yeah.
So next question is, outside, everybody always says, my business comes from my database, sphere of influence, past clients. So what are you sharing with your agents now, or give us a couple ideas if you have, on tactics for generating new businesses, not following up with people that you already know?
So and again, this is really not my ideas, and I watch my agents a lot with this, right? And I'm always trying to think of new ways, but some of the best things I'm seeing the agents doing right now, because there's so much activity on social media, I'm seeing that they are taking these social media groups, like these networking groups and social groups, whether it be dog lovers or dog park people or beer, brewery kind of people, or sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's social, sometimes it's fundraising, but just network a lot more and just be out there, not going out there as a realtor, but just going out there as a fellow person. I tell the agents, the most important thing you can do is go out and talk to people. And the most important word that you can say if you want to sell a lot of real estate is hi.
Good too.
Right? Just and let the conversation go from there. But yeah, just get involved. We had a girl come from Iowa. The biggest advice I could give her, I said, get involved in every social like thing that you can. And she got in with a bunch of people that are, new to the state, new to the Charlotte. She got in all those groups, and she's kind of running little mini get-togethers now. And she's literally busy as she can be because of that. And people are just looking to her.
Just that. Like, see, there's no excuse. I don't know anybody. Well, let's go meet people, and you can do that.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, and they start by saying hi. That's my thing.
I love it.
Start by saying hi. After you apologize, start by saying hi. That's awesome. I love it.
Apologize and hello. That's my thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, whatever works, right?
It's the KISS principle.
Yeah.
Procrastination is a big part of things that happen to our business. I'm sure that's not going to be your answer to this next question, but we always like to know, when, because you have a lot of plans, right? You have a lot of goals for the future. What actually holds you back, Barry? What holds you back?
So the biggest thing that I would say that holds me back, and I'm a procrastinator. My wife will tell you I'm not the best in the world. The best thing that ever happened for me was getting my calendar and just making that a piece of my life, and it changed that a little bit. So if it's there, I have to do it, right? I can procrastinate with the best of them. But what I see mostly holding people back is their fear, their insecurity, and I want to just say laziness. Sometimes we're pure lazy and we don't do the work. I encourage everybody to get everything done before 12 o'clock.
Like that.
The things you don't like to do, try to get it done as soon as possible. All the busy work. And don't open your social media until you've gotten certain things done, because that's a vacuum that will suck so much time away from. It's an easy thing to do, right? I need to do this, but let me go check Facebook, because I can sit there for 30 minutes and waste my time. So I guess the procrastination piece is huge, but I think it's really just it's the inner battle we have within ourselves of just understanding what we need to do and making it a priority.
Sure. Like it.
All right. So this one then goes to what inspires you. Is there anything that's top of mind at the moment? It could be anything: books, people, programs, just anything.
Yeah, I have a couple of. It's interesting. I don't follow the real estate people so much. It's like their path is their path. I really look at business owners, and I really see, as a general rule, there are people that I want to fashion myself after. There's a couple of business owners that I highly respect and I admire. I actually reach out to a couple of them on a regular basis as I get further along in this business as a business owner. And one of the top brokerages in Charlotte, I want to always make sure that I am being a good leader, that I'm being a kind and compassionate but firm leader, that my integrity is always as good as I can make it. And some of this is books. We do a book club. We do several books a year and they're not really real estate based, but I made them win How to Win Friends and Influence People. And we have the discussions and there's a lot of the books that we read. But I've got one now that I'm reading. It's about growth and new beginnings after trauma. It's by one of my agents that actually published this book.
Wow.
And so I find inspiration from a lot of different sources. Wow. But I think you look to your peers and you look to other business leaders and you try to figure out who do I want to be like.
Yeah.
Right. When I was learning to ski, that's exactly what I did. And I became an accomplished ski instructor just by finding the ones that I wanted to be like and doing what they did.
Excellent.
And so I think it's very simple. And then if, ask questions. I'm always an open book. If anyone wants to ask me how to get better at anything, I'm good at telling you. I'm not necessarily good at doing it, but I can absolutely tell you. And you can get it done a lot quicker if don't do it the way I did it. Right. Anyway.
Yeah, sometimes it's, do as I say, not as I do.
Do as I say. That's my dad used to say that all the time. It was so funny, man. And now I'm older. I really get it now. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right. Our last question of the top 5 is what's your best advice for agents to thrive in 2023? And really not just 2023, but beyond.
Be adaptable. Understand that the basics never change. If it is harder to find clients, which it is, you gotta work harder. The secret to every single successful agent that's ever existed is they never took. Vinny Tracy, who's the president of Realty One Group, says it best. There is no time to let your foot off the gas.
Mm.
And I live by that philosophy. I tell the agents, you don't coast. If you want a real estate career that does this, go ahead and do that. But if you want a real estate career that just kind of does this, keep your foot on the gas. Never stop doing what it was that made you successful. The problem is we get a couple of deals and we kind of, we'll coast. And then we got to roll in and try to find them again. And it becomes this panic system. If you just do a certain amount of work on a consistent basis and be very persistent about it and have the right attitude, you'll be successful. But you just have to learn to adapt to different markets, right? That's the whole reason I said in the beginning, you got to understand that this market right now is all about sellers and buyers that need to sell or have to buy. If you can understand that, then that's who you're talking. That's who you adapt your market towards, right? You're not going to convince somebody to buy or sell if the timing's not right for whatever reason. So anyway, adaptability and just working hard.
Wow. I'm super inspired today, Barry. I feel like you were talking to me on a couple times, and I've got some mental notes, and that was a good coaching session.
We do a broker mastermind. It's another great thing our brokerage does every Monday morning, and we do an hour 10 o'clock every Monday, and we talk about that. And it's so funny you said that, Jan, because every time I walk away from running one of those, and I get something, right? Not only do hopefully the agents get something, but it helps inspire me as well.
Exactly.
So the biggest thing, I'll finish and I'll say this: agents, I don't care where you are, plug into WBNL coaching, plug it into the podcast, plug into your brokerage, plug into your fellow agents, find a connection, plug in, because you walk away inspired, regardless of whether you do it, how you do it, regardless of that.
Good stuff.
All right. So here's the deal. I love doing these interviews because you always learn a little bit about somebody that you didn't know before. So Barry Aldridge. Now I've always thought that you have a freaking awesome voice. There's something about your voice, right? Because you have the deep, So I'm looking at your bio. I'm like, what the heck? The guy's a theater guy, right? Yeah. It's like, tell us, just spend a little bit of time to talk about that, because that was fascinating to me. And is this stuff you've been done in the past? Are you still doing community theater? What's the deal here, Barry? Not
any longer. I don't do community theater any longer. I just kind of run music in our chapel and do a few things here and there. Music's always been a big part of my life. I was kind of vocally trained throughout my career. I've had some professional training, but a lot of it was just blessed. Learned projection at a very early age. Of course, my mom would tell you I didn't need that help because I've always been loud. Everybody said I had a radio voice. Obviously, that just with the way it is. As a matter of fact, I was playing golf yesterday, and the guy said, "Were you in radio?" And I was like, "No." But theater was a great release. It was a great way for me to engage and just kind of have that performance piece itch scratched, I guess. But I've always loved to sing.
Funny thing happened on the way to the floor, Forum, Camelot, Jean Valjean, and Les Mis. Come on, Barry.
I did, and I guess that's you ask if I do it anymore. How do you top that, right? I was Jean Valjean. I mean, how do you top that? It's hard to really go back as anything else once you've kind of done that one. It was an amazing an amazing ride. I'd still love to do things. I'd love to be the Phantom. I'd love to do Phantom of the Opera. I would love to be Beauty. I'd love to be the Beast and Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. But apparently, unfortunately, I'm aging out of a lot of these roles, and so anyway, it's a lot of fun. Performing was always a big thing for me, and in some ways, I still am. I to my brokers, and when I am. I joke and tell people I am the inflatable doll by the side of the road, waving you over to Realty One Group Select. Here I am. Hey, it's Barry. Notice me, right? And come on in, and then my wife and her team will be the ones that kind of do all the work, unfortunately, and they make things happen. I'm a hood ornament, and I'm okay with that, right? I'm just kind of the guy that kind of runs this crazy train, and I'm very blessed. But I'm Was a performer.
Well, here's the deal. We really
always.
preach. We preach work-life balance a lot, and you know what I mean. To have those things you do outside of your business is super important. And boy, I'll tell you that. And there's nothing like theater training to actually train. You could walk on any stage and you'd be just fine. So it's a cool thing.
I love that. And if you've ever auditioned, you'll know the stress, right? And it's you figure out what you're good at. That's the reason I said I had the Empty Chairs at Empty Tables song from Les Mis, right? And even though that wasn't my character that I ultimately did, that was my go-to on all of my auditions. And I am proud to say that I never auditioned for a role using that song that I didn't get the role.
Wow.
Because it was, learn what you got. I mean, know where your thing is to stick with it, double down, right?
And stay in
the
your
many
lane.
Dimensions of Barry Aldridge.
I know,
wow.
that's what I mean. It's awesome to get down to like that, peel that little onion a little bit farther. Well, what do you know? What's happening here? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well,
pleasure having you today, Barry. It was awesome. A lot of great stuff. If you want more information about Barry, want to learn more about Realty One Group, Realty One Group Select, we're going to have all that information over on in our show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. This was episode 247. All that stuff is going to be there. You can get a hold of Barry, maybe delve a little farther into his whole, Jean Valjean past, which I find freaking fascinating. So that is awesome. Next week, like I said, we're going to be jumping into part 6 of our Opening Your Own Brokerage series, so don't miss that. All of the other parts of that are located over in our YouTube channel, and you can also find them in our show notes too over at WBNLpodcast.com. Barry, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, get up, get out, live the life you have dreamed, and be forever wandering but not lost.